Good Moyed. Today we're going to start a mimer that the Rebbe said in Tafshin Lamed Ches, 1977, on Matzei Simchas Tora, which is called Lahavin Inyan Simchas Tora. It's a little bit of background regarding that mimer and the time that it was said. The mimer was said 40 years ago. That year, Tafshin Lamed Ches, 1977, in Tishrei, on Shemini Atzeres night in the middle of Akafis, the Rebbe suffered a major heart attack. The Rebbe continued with the Akafis until the end, although most of the people ran out of the room. There was only a very few people there in order to give the Rebbe air, and there's only a few people that continued. The Rebbe refused to leave until Akafis were over, although they went quicker, and then the Rebbe climbed the stairs, made Kiddush in the Sukkah, and later the Rebbe refused to go to the hospital, but remained in 770 where the doctors came. The Rebbe sent messages to the Chassidim that they should continue to rejoice and continue to be happy and to dance stronger and more powerful, and on the contrary, that's what's going to make him better. Later on, Matzei Simchas Tora, first the Rebbe said there should be a farbrengen, like there usually is. At the end of Simchas Tora, there is usually a farbrengen, the Simchas Tora farbrengen, towards the end of the day, and it continues into the night. And then the Rebbe benches on the cup of wine and makes Havdalah and gives a kaisho bracha. The Rebbe said that they should set up the farbrengen in the regular manner, just as it usually is set up, and that they should put there the Rebbe's chair as well, and they should know that the one who usually sits in the chair is there also. The Rebbe also gave a message to the Chassidim, which the Rebbe gave over through Rabbi Groner and Rabbi Yoel Kahn, who gave over the message regarding the fact that what's explained in Chassidus, that when there's a lack, when your place is empty, that actually brings a greater and a higher remembrance. Later on, the Rebbe made Havdalah in his room and sent the wine down to the Chassidim to be given out as Kaisho Bracha. Afterwards, they announced that the Rebbe would speak. The Rebbe asked permission from the doctor, and the doctor gave the Rebbe permission to speak for 5 minutes. The Rebbe spoke then for over half an hour, for close to an hour, and the Rebbe spoke via hookup to the Chassidim who were downstairs in Shul. What the Rebbe spoke was then later edited by the Rebbe as a mimer, Lahavin Inyan Simchas Tora, and that's the mimer that we're going to learn now. So this mimer is connected, number one, with the idea of 40 years. We know that the Gemara tells us that at the end of 40 years a person is able to reach the full understanding of his teacher's knowledge. Which means that this mimer now at the end of 40 years from the mimer, we are now able to fully comprehend and reach the full understanding and comprehension of what it says in the mimer. We're going to learn this mimer. It was first understanding of a very interesting concept. The Rebbe tells regarding the Ushpizin of tonight being Hoshana Rabbah, which the Ushpizin is the Rebbe Rashab. The Ushpizin is David HaMelech, the last of the Ushpizin, the Ushpizin of Zoyar, and the Chassidish Ushpizin, it's the Rebbe Rashab. Now the Rebbe tells in the name of the Frierdiker Rebbe that the Rebbe Rashab was a Baal Bechina. A Baal Bechina means everything he did, he first tested it out to check and to make sure that it actually works practically in the world. When the Rebbe Rashab established Temchet Mimim, he first accepted only a few Bachrim in order to see that it works. And once he saw that the yeshiva works, he accepted many Bachrim. And the Frierdiker Rebbe told that it's the similar concept with regards to the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe, when he was arrested, before Yutes Kislev, people asked him, and specifically some of the other students of the Maggid, they asked the Alter Rebbe, how did you allow yourself to sit in jail? The Alter Rebbe sat in jail for 53 days. Actually, they came to arrest the Alter Rebbe originally on Cholamayit Sukkos. They came back later, right after Sukkos, and they took the Alter Rebbe into prison. And they asked the Alter Rebbe, how can you allow such a thing to happen? You're putting your life in danger as well as the whole continuation of the teaching of Chassidus. And the Alter Rebbe explained the following. A doctor has a mission and has a job to cure his patients, and he has to put his life for it because that's his mission in the world. A teacher, a mashpia, and a madrich, a guide of Chassidim, his mission is to teach his Chassidim and to guide them, and for that he's even able to put his life in danger because otherwise he's not accomplishing the mission that he has. And so the Alter Rebbe said, my mission in this world is to teach and guide Chassidim. But in order to guide Chassidim, the only way to guide them properly is through my knowing what's really going on with them, which means that I test them to see how they behave in a time of hardship. And so I was able, according to Torah, to even put my life in danger in order to test out the Avas Achim, the brotherly love of Chassidim, to see what would happen in a time of hardship, how they respond and how they behave. This was the story told regarding the Alter Rebbe. And this idea means bringing everything. It's not enough when something is there in theory, in understanding, in concept, but in order for it to be accomplished properly, as a madrich, a guide, the whole concept of Torah Chassidus is to bring it into the person in his practical life, even in times of hardship and adversity, a time of adversity, when there's things that are standing in a person's way, a person has to be able to bring it down, and it's only then that it's realized that it's real and true. This is also the idea of David HaMelech, who's the other Ushpizin of tonight, of Hoshana Rabbah. That David HaMelech, it says, V'avayi imo ishalacha k'moisei. David HaMelech, Hashem was with him, meaning that Allah was like him, meaning he didn't only study Torah, but he knew how to bring it down into the practical world. That's the spirit of David HaMelech, which is the spirit of Malchus. Now this concept is actually not just that we should know how to do it, but in fact the ultimate idea of this concept is that the ultimate purpose of our mission in this world is not only that we know how to connect to Hashem. Why did our neshama come down into this world? It came down into this world because when it was up there, it's for sure connected to Hashem. The whole point is that even in a time of hardship, even in a time when we're down in a world where everything opposes the truth of godliness, yet even here we're able to connect to Hashem in the full way. This is connected with the Ushpizin, the Rebbe Maharash, today's Ushpizin. And together with the Ushpizin of Zohar, the main Ushpizin of today, according to the Zohar, which is Yosef HaTzadik. Which Yosef HaTzadik is the one who, unlike the other Shvatim, that they had to be Royei Tzayin, they had to be shepherds. They had to separate from the world. And only then were they able to continue their proper connection to Hashem, because that was the level of their neshama and the neshamas of Atzilus. They were from the worlds. They were connected more to the worlds of Bria, Yitzir, Asiyah, where in order to connect to spirituality, they had to be separated from the world, whereas Yosef HaTzadik was able to be in Egypt, and able to be in a place where he was in the Ervas Haaretz, in the lowest place of the land, and yet over there to be Yosef Hu Hashalit Al Kal Haaretz, to rule over the entire land of Egypt, and in fact to transform, not only to transcend all the hardships of Egypt, but to transform it so that it becomes a place and a dwelling place for Hashem. And this was the idea of the Rebbe Maharash, Lechatchila Riber, meaning the Rebbe Maharash's life was in a way that he used the world, and he used the physicality of the world, and he used the material riches. By the Rebbe Maharash, everything was in a way of abundance and riches and gold specifically, in order to use the physical world to show that its real truth and its real existence is really godliness, which that's the idea of L'chatchila Riber. Now this concept can be explained in the Maimer that we're about to learn, and in its connection to the time in which it was said. The time in which the Maimer was said 40 years ago was a time that for the first time, since the Rebbe accepted the Nesius in Tafshin Yud Aleph in 1951, which for the course of the 27 years that followed since then, there was never a day that the Rebbe took off. Every day the Rebbe came to work, the Rebbe verbringt, every single Shabbos Mevarchim, etc., etc., the Rebbe was always there and available. And suddenly there was a situation where the Rebbe sort of is, so to speak, forced. But a Rebbe is not forced to take a step back, to go into a certain mode of concealment. And this concept is what's been explained by the Rabbeim, that the idea of this is really something which has to do with testing out and seeing how Chassidim know how to bring that unity, how to bring that the lessons that they learned from Chassidus, to bring it into the world, into a world filled with adversaries, into a world of concealment, into a world where godliness is not revealed, and that they can go, so to speak, on their own, but with the power that the Rebbe is giving them still at the same time, but that they don't feel it in a revealed way, and to be able to bring it into the world. This concept is even stronger 40 years later, at a time when we're here, in the last battle, in the last moments, in order to bring Mashiach. And it seems to be a time of concealment on all fronts. A time when we seem to be dealing with adversaries and with concealment of godliness. And yet our mission is not only not to give up, but on the contrary, to realize that this is what it's all about. To bring that unity into the world, into the reality of the world, and in that way to be able to reveal Mashiach, that now that Koyiminish Adaita the Rabbi, that we reach that knowledge and understanding of these ideas that the Rabbi explained. With this understanding, with this introduction, we can now continue to explain a little bit of the ideas that are explained in the Maimer. The Maimer explains in continuation to the previous Maimer that the Rebbe said that year on Yud Gimel Tishrei, the yahrzeit of the Rebbe Maharash, a long Maimer explaining how all the days of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, are revealed on Sukkot with the mitzvahs of Sukkah, and then especially the mitzvah of Daled Minim, of taking the 4 kinds, and the mitzvah of the Karbanis of Sukkot, that all of these things, they bring the oneness of Hashem into the world. The oneness is expressed through the Achdus, the oneness that all Jews have together, which reveals the essence, as we learned in the last Maimer that we learned, the essence of a Jew, the real essence and the true essence of what a Jew is all about, which is in that there's no separation, he's totally one with Hashem, but reveals it even in the separation that there is in the world. And moreover, as a result of this achdus, the unity that's amongst the Jewish people, we bring that unity into the whole world, that the whole world recognizes the oneness of Hashem, which is something will be fully realized by the time of Mashiach. So now that we understand this idea of this Maimer, and this Maimer now explains how this is fully revealed on the idea of on the Yom Tov Simchas Tora. So we'll start at least now, and if Mr. Hashem will continue tomorrow, and then if necessary a little bit also on Matzeh Shabbos Bereishis, this Maimer. The Maimer starts with the words Lahavin Inyan Simchas Tora, to understand the idea, the concept of Simchas Tora. We know that in Mamarim, many Mamarim of the Rabbeim usually start with either a Pasuk, sometimes a Mishnah, but there are some of the Mamarim that start with Lahavin. One of the big Dibra Maschels, the words that start many Mamarim, is Lahavin Inyan Simchas Tora. Lahavin Inyan Simchas Tora means that it's something which has to be understood. It's something which on its own is not understood. Because, number one, the whole concept of Simchas Tora is not mentioned in the Torah, not in the Torah Shebiksav, in the written Torah, not even in the simple parts of Torah Shebal Peh, in the Mishnah and the Gemara. It's something which is mentioned as a minhag, as a Jewish custom. And it's mentioned only in later Sfarim, in the Shulchan Aruch, etc., and even there it's mentioned as a custom, and it's simply the custom of going around the Bima 7 times. And yet Simchas Tora becomes one of the greatest Yom Tovim, one of the greatest holidays around for the Jewish people. Something, a time when we can draw down and bring down all the brachas in the most revealed way. But in order to understand this, this is something which specifically the Torah doesn't tell us about. So that's why it's lahavin, it's something which we must understand. We must understand it. We need Chassidus to teach it to us and to understand, to explain to us the depths of Simchas Tora, something which seems to be concealed, where the light of the Torah doesn't seem to be revealed, but where we need to have an understanding of it, and that understanding that the Rebbe explained at that time, which now 40 years later we can come to the full realization and the knowledge and connection to it. Now the main questions that we have on Simchas Tora is number one, why do we dance with a Torah closed? If the whole idea of Simchas Tora, joy, rejoicing, how does one usually rejoice with something? By knowing it, by understanding it. Simcha comes from something revealed, something that makes sense, something that's open. And here we take a closed Sefer Torah. Even more than that, to dance with anything means to recognize it. And certainly when it comes to Torah, which is knowledge, which is understanding, moreover, it's hi chachmaschem uvinaschem. This is the wisdom of the Jewish people. This is the essence of a Jew. The connection that he has to Torah, which is through understanding. And yet, how do we dance with the Torah? Closed, covered with its mantle, covered with its cover, and we're dancing with it in that manner. How does one dance with a Torah in such a manner? That's the opposite, seemingly, of what everything that Torah shows. In addition to that, we see that this Torah, therefore, Simchas Torah is connected to every Jew. Even a Jew that doesn't know much about Torah, which is why what we're dancing with is the written Torah, which every Jew, the Torah tells us. Every Jew can get an aliyah. Every Jew every morning can make a bracha. Asher bachar banu v'nasan lanu noisen ha-Torah. Hashem who gives the Torah regarding the written Torah, even if he doesn't understand what he's talking about. In the oral Torah, we have to understand it. With the written Torah, it's not necessary to understand it because the connection to the noisen ha-Torah, to the giver of the Torah, is there just by the fact that he reads the words of Torah. That expresses even more the aspect that it's not the understanding that it's about, it's the written Torah, and this is also why on Simchas Tora we see the connection that all Jews come, even those who all year long their connection to Torah is not so open, and yet Simchas Tora they're pulled into the dancing and the kafis when we're dancing. We'll continue Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow.